Hey, good morning. Welcome to the BlueGamer Bluecast morning show. I'm your host, Adam Blue, video game player extraordinaire. Um, yeah, good morning, Optronomus. Good to see you in the chat, fellow friend of the channel. Yeah, let's talk some video games this morning. To start, what did I play yesterday? Well, not a whole lot. I actually just played a little bit more Dragon's Dogma 2. Still think it's amazing. I was on this quest I talked about yesterday because of this certain character that you could potentially have relations with. But it was interesting, the series of events and choices I could make along the way, where I ended up getting out free and then she got arrested. It was pretty interesting. It just really, to me, it just spells out like how interesting this game is. When you're doing quests, you don't know what's going to happen. You have choices to make. Although that stuff's not as fun to me as quests that are about fighting. Some quests are more like character interactions and choices, which give you options to help you out later on. I just like the fighting stuff. So, and the fighting stuff's great. I can't wait to play some more. But yeah. So other than that, I think, the other thing is, and I don't know if I have more to talk on this device here, the Ambernic RG. RG35XXH. There's all these random names. This journey I've been on with this is getting it with custom firmware syncing to sync all my ROMs. What I've realized is this device in general is just finicky. It has amazing quality. And its stock OS is fine. It just is very limited. So for a user like me, there's certain things I want to be able to do with my retro handhelds. Trying to customize this, it breaks. I think the best progress I've had, in fact, this is perfect for me, is using an Android device. And I think a lot of it is because there's so many people that can then work on Android, whereas with these little retro handhelds, a lot of times they have custom firmware or forks of Linux that are very restricted, and therefore there's not a lot of support and everything. But I think that's it video game wise, really, from yesterday. I don't think I really got into anything else. So let's go ahead and already jump into some news. So let me okay. So first of all, Human Fall Flat 2 has been delayed. Well, I've heard of the first one, was never really excited about it. Never played it. But sequel's coming. Okay, there's some news there. Octopath Traveler is now available to purchase on Nintendo eShop again. That's weird that it got it was delisted without explanation last month. Again, another little scary thing about digital, even though it's like if you bought something and it was removed without explanation, well, actually it's delisted, so it would have been if you didn't buy it. That's interesting. If a game is out, it's like a modern game, and it accidentally gets delisted, do you have the right to pirate it? Denuvo has been removed from Ghostwire Tokyo. Okay, that's about 2 years since the game came out, I think. And I guess that's something that happens every once in a while where, I personally haven't had, that's not true. I don't think I've ever had any issue with, I know people don't like Denuvo and other anti-piracy software. I don't think I've personally ever had an issue. Although I thought with Elden Ring, when that first came out and had frame pacing issues, people were like, oh, just, bypass the anti-cheat stuff. But that didn't do it. I've learned now, getting older, when people come up with things to do to fix something, and most of the time that doesn't work. The biggest one I've always been told is clear your cache. And that really only works in very specific instances. Generally, it requires a restart, different browser. And then from Ultronomous, wonder if there was a bug of some sort that prompted it for the delisting. That's a good point. The source might have more information. But that actually is a good point, because you don't want something on the store that people could download that would mess up their experience and want a refund. Yeah, and Ghostwire Tokyo. That's it. I started Ghostwire Tokyo and it was pretty neat, but it was just one of those things where that game wasn't doing things that were so unique that I kept with it. Maybe one day. Playdate Storefront has paid out, wow, 500,000 to devs. So Playdate is this little handheld device you can buy. That's it's interesting. It's just like a classic console in the sense that games are only made to be played on it. It has an interesting little crank control on there. But that's neat that that much has been paid out. So it like tells me how much people are making games for it. And that's neat because that's such a little subsect of gaming that, let's see, Playdate Maker Panic has revealed that over 150,000 games, wow, have been sold since the launch of the storefront catalog in March 2023. So it's shipped 70,000 units. 38,000 users have made a purchase on the front, while 32,000 focused on the 24 titles included in the handheld Season 1. This thing's pretty neat. I would really like to check one of these out, except it's just on that verge of it's not daily driving of gaming for me because it's more gimmicky, but if it wasn't as expensive as it was, like, let's see, how much is this thing? Because I want to say it's like, okay, it's not bad. But that's AliExpress. 220. See, I think it really gets up to the 200s. Where can I buy now? Let's see. Yeah, 200. Like for 200, I can build out a retro gaming handheld that could do so much, even emulate Playdate games. So it's like I get it, but I feel like that's so expensive. And some of the media outlets I would watch when this came out would cover this, but they were given it. And they were always just talking about gimmicks and not like a game, like, oh, this game does this and it's great. It's more like, oh, let's see what gimmick we could do for the day, which, again, not a bad thing. It's just at that price point, it's right on that line of, I wouldn't do it. But I'd love to try it. So let's see what else is going on. Sea of Thieves passes 40 million players. Well, good for them now that it is on PlayStation. Fallout 4 jumps to #1 across Europe following TV show launch. Yeah, that makes sense. That's been another thing I've noticed a lot is so many people jumping into Fallout. And that's what's really cool. When these TV shows come out or movies that are about hold on. I feel like there's always a morning sneeze every episode. But you have like when a media property comes out, like a game or a movie or a TV show and a movie, it has like a corresponding game, and then people get really, like excited about it. What's interesting though with me when I first started watching the Fallout show, I was like, ooh, maybe I'm getting into Fallout, but it fell off quickly. I thought that was interesting how my tastes are sometimes. But like, for instance, when the Twisted Metal TV show came out, I really wish they had a game. It's really crazy that there's not another Twisted Metal game. Like, I do think a modern Twisted Metal game would have to, in some degrees, have different mechanics, but it can be done. And I'm surprised they're not even focusing on it. It's that IP alone, and they're waiting too long between. But hopefully the TV show keeps that Twisted Metal IP going. Let's see. Okay, next week's free Epic Game Store titles have leaked. I don't know about you guys, but I am really big on the Epic Store stuff. It's not like I don't primarily use that to play, but I go in there and grab whatever games I can. So it's a game called Lisa the Painful. Never heard of it, just like most of the games that get released on there. Every once in a while, the Epic Store will have a free game that's like, oh, that's a good one, like Saints Row, and I haven't really got to it. Industria is a first-person shooter that takes you from East Berlin into a parallel reality shortly before the end. So that's pretty neat. A first-person shooter in a parallel. Okay, that's cool. But when it's a first-person shooter, I don't know how much it's narrative-driven or action-based. Let's see. Oh, Ghost Runner is the current free game. So if you guys haven't played Ghost Runner, Town of Salem 2. So, that's a very interesting thing with the Epic Game Store and the free games, and how I guess the Xbox Game Pass or Gold transition to Game Pass and those types of games, where there's a lot of smaller, lesser known indie games. And part of me is like, I'd rather a game that I'm excited about. But at the same time, this is a great way, I think, for games to get seen that would normally not get seen. Even if it doesn't pop off, at least it's an option. It's a free game. And then you get the smaller developers that get a kickback. That even if that game's not successful, maybe that relationship with Epic has allowed them to then make more games. So I think that's cool. Let's see. Okay, Ready or Not dev Void Interactive confirms it was hacked. Says no user or staff data was breached. Well, everyone gets hacked. I used to cover this stuff a lot. There was another channel I would talk about hacks on. And the thing is, like, it's almost inevitable nowadays. I feel like you should just expect to get hacked and just keep your data safe or be aware of your credit, etc. The things that make this tough is when it's like IP that's then utilized. Like, that's tough. But as a person, just, be careful. Okay, Mecha Break announces new closed beta. So this is something I have been interested in because of the way it looks, and I signed up for the beta. I got an email yesterday to like fill out. They have some questions just to see, I guess, if I would be a fit. But look at this: 60-player PvEVP. Like that. That's kind of like awesome because I like being able to play with a lot of people, but also like PvE more than PvP. But I also do like a degree of PvP. Especially if you could do it with some friends. When the game fully releases, other modes include 3v3 and 6v6. So this is really cool. It seems like it's going to be a mecha game that really allows you in different situations to be a mech, customize your mech. I mean, totally down for something like that. Anything else on it? These mechs are the pride and joy of any accomplished pilot, with weapons, armor pieces, chassis, and even the paint job being fully customizable. Yeah, I think that sounds great. There's a link on this, insidergaming.com, if you wanted to sign up, or go to the website, search Mecha Break. Let's see. Any other interesting things? Wait a minute. Okay, I was just scrolling because I didn't care, and then I saw a cool screenshot. What is this? Buckshot Roulette. Oh, okay. So it's not. It looked like a neat, interesting first-person shooter, but I think that's just the view of the character, the mechanics. It's a fun little distraction. Okay. 5-hour energy launching 230 milligram caffeine gamer shot. Okay. That seems like a sponsored post. COD player hits 10th prestige without killing a single enemy? What? Let's see what this is saying. Call of Duty isn't the first franchise that jumps to mind when you think of blah, 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 blah. Research revealed they've managed to reach the 10th prestige on Modern Warfare 3 without killing a single enemy, instead relying on objective-based modes and the destruction of kill streaks to level up. Which kill streaks kill people, don't they? That's pretty neat. Killed at the ratio of 0, which means that they didn't land a single hit on an enemy during the 486 games that they played to reach the 10th prestige. Wow. Interesting. But I have noticed that when you play objective-based modes and you're playing the objective, you do get a lot of points. But to that degree, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's see. Bethesda explains why Fallout 5 is taking so long. Well, if it's to make a non-jank game, take as much time as you need. I'm really waiting for the day for Bethesda to come out with a game that I connect with. Hasn't happened yet. So Dead Island 2 expansion adds gnarly zombies. So I will say the Dead Island 2 is good. I like how it is. It's linear, but again, it does the thing that I talk about a lot in games like Sniper Elite 5. Hitman does this, where you have these open zones. It's where maybe you're you're on a linear path to get to a certain area for the game, but then once you're there, the game opens up and allows you within that objective area to do whatever you need to do. Let's see. So Sola is a substantial expansion that takes players to a music festival in Los Angeles. It's another fun-filled romp in the Dead Island 2 universe, boasting more humorous quips, blah, blah, blah. Okay. First, there's the Whipper, an awful-looking archetype that attacks players by slashing at them with intensities and entrails. That's right. The zombie uses its guts as a melee weapon. And there's the Clotter. Okay. Is it really just a new area with new enemies? I'd be interested if they added some more mechanics. Here's the thing. Like, as much as I like this game, I just didn't beat it because I got to a point where I felt like I did a lot of, like, I felt I got what I needed out of the game. But sometimes I think back at it, I'm like, I'd play that some more. And I also think this game was sort of what's the word? Underrated. I think it's underrated. I would think people would talk about this more, actually. Let's see. Okay, well, I'm trying to see if there's anything neat that I could... Here's something interesting. The Call of Duty announces Cheech and Chong crossover bundle. So I'm fascinated with how weed-centric Call of Duty has become recently, and like I'm not against that or anything. I just, growing up where, drugs are illegal and now things have changed so much. It's crazy, especially when one of these guys, he was in jail or prison for a while for drugs, and the world is wacky, I tell you. And then it's just like built into Call of Duty, but I think it's more am I getting conspiratorial here, where it's like, well, we could leverage weed if people want it, and then Call of Duty is kind of like that target demographic where you kind of keep people high and playing Call of Duty all the time. Is that what they're trying to do? I don't know. Let's see. Anything else? I have a couple more things that we're going to discuss, but I just wanted to see if any other interesting news had come out. No, not really. Especially when I'm talking about this stuff every day. So something I wanted, there's a couple more things we're going to talk about. One thing is, there was that, it was very interesting because lately, this week, even last week, there's news of, more layoffs in the gaming industry. And then there was the news of the Jabba DLC for Star Wars Outlaws that, people were upset that on day one, there's DLC available. And then I was trying to make a couple comments. One, when these layoffs are coming up, it's like, it's hard to keep talking about this. I think by now, people working in this world should know how this works, where you just got to kind of prepare yourself. And it's not great. If there's something we could do about it, we should. And so that brings to the next part. I'm watching I think it was Giant Bomb, and they were just talking about how people should not be upset about this DLC that's on day one. My argument was, at first, was like, yeah, I don't think it really matters too much, but then I feel like if you're releasing extra paid content on the day that a game comes out, what are the chances that you're going to get to the point in the game where you then play that extra paid content? In terms of a mission, this isn't cosmetics. This is like a mission. And so I'm like, well, what's really happening here? It's a degree of FOMO. It's like the game's released. They're selling $130 editions of this game. They're like, how can we maximize that first day one, week one sales? And it's like, again, like I say, I'm not a big deal, but that's what they're trying to do. And it's kind of the same thing I'm saying with the layoffs. It's like, it's unfortunate this happens, but this is what they're trying to do. And so on this Giant Bomb show, they were complaining about people complaining about the Jabba DLC, how it shouldn't matter. But then they were complaining about layoffs. But I think these are interconnected. If you're as a company, your practices are to maximize your revenue by arbitrary things like a mission day one. Like, think about it. A mission on day one, when's the chance in that game on that day you would get into that mission? They're just, again, trying to maximize the revenue. But these are practices that coincide with the practices that lead to layoffs because the companies are more interested in finding out ways to nickel and dime than to really cut costs in the first place. And so I thought that was kind of a weird argument to attack publishers for layoffs, saying it's wrong, but then defend the practice of the FOMO day one mission, not day one cosmetics, but day one missions that you won't even get to on day one. Anyway, okay, let's see, what is all trying to say? My concern about day one DLC like that is that it comes off that you either didn't finish the game before launch, or the content from the base game just to make DLC. Yeah, that's the thing. It does feel odd, so it must come from a place of behavior. It is these publishers knowing, okay, we know that people are going to want to buy all this stuff day one. There's no way you're going to get to that Jabba mission on day one. Maybe day two. I could see people that are playing 12 hours straight, and But in general, this is a behavior style tactic that the publishers are using on purpose to maximize revenue at the same time we are seeing the layoffs. And you can't defend one and bemoan the other. You have to be against both and boycott both. So, but here's the other thing. I'm not going to buy the game, but I do subscribe to the Ubisoft thing, which I actually think it's a good deal. They do have a lot of like AAA games that you're getting for that. It's crossplay. So I remember what was it? I had played most of Immortal Phoenix Rising on PS5 and I never beat it. And then one day I'm at my PC thinking of what to play and I saw that it was on Xbox. And I was like, oh yeah, Xbox PC, I think it was. And I was like, oh, I wish I could, finish this. It's like, wait a minute, I can. So I was able to connect my Ubisoft account and then it started me right where I was on my PC and I beat it. So, there's some things, it's nuanced, that I'm against that's happening. And I also feel like even though Ubisoft's doing this, their play isn't, I think, as nefarious as like what an EA or old school Activision would be. I think they're more of trying to price themselves out to get people to do the monthly subscriptions. Because even though I also don't think that is a good long-term strategy, I think where Ubisoft is, and it's weird, Ubisoft's in this weird phase where you almost feel like they're going to be bought out, and that's almost been talked about. It has been talked about in the past. But yeah, let's go to another thing I wanted to talk about, and that is the Nintendo Indie thing yesterday, where they announced a bunch of games. Yeah, Nintendo Indie World. And so I'm using an article from Polygon. So they announced Little Kitty Big City, which looked pretty neat. What are the chances of me playing this? Probably low, but I will say this is more of what I was hoping Stray would be, because Stray was that like cat-based game where you ran around in a city, but then it quickly became something else because you got this attachment on you where you had these other like more science or sci-fi like mechanics where it's like, okay, I'm not a cat anymore. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. And then Yars Rising, very interesting, taking the Yars IP that's been around since Atari, using WayForward. WayForward's known for making tons of incredible games. I think, though between Contra and this, my take, and I don't know if a lot of people agree, is I don't think these side-scrolling games look good in 3D. WayForward's Contra didn't look anywhere near as good as their Contra 4, which was pixel-based. When I played Bloodstain, was it Bloodstain Symphony of the Night? No, that's Castlevania. Bloodstain, and then it had a Curse of the... No, that was the 2D. Anyway, the Bloodstain game from famed Castlevania or Metroidvania developer Igarashi Koji used 3D. And so... And I made this argument when I was comparing Mario Wonder and Sonic Superstars. Is in Mario Wonder, the art style, the polygons meet the art style. In something like Sonic Superstars, background or side things, they don't meet the art style. They reduce the polygon count just for better performance, but then you're looking at something that doesn't look as great. And we see this a lot with 2D side-scrolling games that are made in 3D. Is some of the objects are less rendered and don't look as great in terms of the kind of the art style that's coming off, because mechanically speaking, they're just looking for a way to get that to work or whatever. But yeah, I would still play this game because WayForward typically makes good games, so it'd be interesting. Oh yeah, and Yars existed before, but it was completely different. It's more of a, I don't know, Centipede, Space Invaders in that vein. In this, they're doing the side-scrolling thing as a completely new thing. Let's see. Let's see. I'll always lean sprite art, but I feel like they just haven't found the right 3D art. You know what? I agree with you on that. And I think an example is Super Mario Wonder. Like, that's 3D and it looks so good. You're not thinking, oh, this is 3D graphics. You're just looking at, oh, this is well done art. So Nintendo knows what they're doing. Yeah, you're right about that. Okay. Another one, refined self-personality test. Not really my thing unless this is supposed to be like a meta, like there's more of a game to this. I almost think that just the way the art is. And then Sticky Business out now. Sticker Shop Management. A cool little cozy game. Pretty neat. And then we've got, what is this? Anton Blast. Okay. Like the art style. It's like the Pizza Tower people, I think. So this is great. Here's an example of what we were just talking about. Now, people might not like this type of 2D art style, but it's completely consistent within all the assets we are seeing, whether it's cutscenes or in-game, and it has a flow to it. That actually looks pretty fun. A demo is available. Okay, I'm going to have to check that out. And then we've got Valley Peaks. Really neat art style. Maybe another little cozy game. Yeah, a cozy little exploration and water racing. Okay, pretty neat. And then Europa. Another one of these. So this is like a little Breath of the Wild. Yeah, I remember seeing this video actually ahead of time and seeing how the traversal looks, and it traversal, and it looks really cool. This looks like a Zelda-like, and I love the look of it. Totally gonna play that. There's a demo available. Okay, so I might need to play some of these so I can talk about them tomorrow. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. Not my thing. Let's see. I'm gonna go back up to the Ninja Turtles stuff, but yeah, nothing. This SteamWorld Heist 2 trailer looked cool, but I never played the first one. I probably need to do that. But let me get to this Ninja Turtles game. This is a game. It was one of the reasons why I bought an Apple TV. It was this, Castlevania, Sonic. I want to say there was something else I totally forgot. This is actually pretty good, even though I want to say at first it seems super easy, but then as you go, I feel like the high-level gameplay unlocks. This is a lot of fun. Really cool. It's coming on Switch. It even said timed console exclusive, meaning then it's probably going to eventually come out to Xbox, PC, PlayStation. I have it on Apple TV, but knowing it's on Switch or even PC, it's like at the end of the day, I'd rather have something on PC so I could play it anywhere. But Switch could mean playing it anywhere too, if you think about it. Anyway, that's about it. Ultron was saying, I'm just pleased it's finally going to be more readily available. Yeah, and I think that's what we all wish when a game comes out. We don't like it to be locked down. I have enough platforms already, and it was hard enough to buy an Apple TV when I don't even have an iPhone device to interact with it. It makes it harder. But that was some interesting news. I think the Nintendo indie stuff is pretty neat, even though really it's like, when's the Switch 2? When's Metroid Prime 4? All that type of stuff. But, yeah, I think that's it. Anyway, thanks for joining. Autonomous, good to see you here this morning, and everyone else. Until tomorrow, have a good rest of the day.